So, hi, this is Chipicon again. This is the Otherworldly, the Changing Times, Changing Worlds show to give you a hint of what's coming up at the conference in November. Tonight, the show is going to be more on crystals. We had a lovely show on some rare crystals in April, and I was going to put a link about it so people could just see both of them, and I can't find it, so I may have lost it. Not as good as I would like to be with technology, but so tonight we're going to keep going on that. Yes. And Starwolf is also known as Sean Kane is going to be talking tonight. He is a wonderful blend of psychic, magician, scientist, and he just makes things, he takes all the information that's available and makes it work. I personally think being good with science enhances your ability to do magic. So today we're going to be talking more about the crystals. I have one question to start off with, which is, if the picture that we had on the event announcement, you may or may not have seen my, let's see, can I'm not sure how I could put it up, but I've got my pile of stones, which sits over on my altar. And there's a couple of, they're kind of sticks. And if you look at the picture, you can see one of them's broken. And what the heck do you do? See, I don't want to throw away a lovely hunk of, I think, fluorite, or it could be amethyst, but it came and as a rod, and now it's 2/2 of a rod. And is there anything one can do with that?
Depending on what it's made of.
Yeah.
If it's amethyst, you might be able to use some form of silicone glue to stick it together.
Okay.
Given that chemically silicon and silicate aren't that far apart, you could also try super gluing it, assuming they will fit back together again. Do not.
Repair, then.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I would suggest if it's been repaired, get somebody to wire wrap it so that it will hold it together more. Rather along the lines of the Japanese system.
Yeah.
Excuse me. See if I can turn up my.
It's a good.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, whatever they call it, where they patch things using precious metals.
Yeah.
If it's completely shattered, well, that's life. You could try reassembling it, but that won't necessarily work. Understand it may not function as well as it did before, because on the other hand, quantum entanglement dictates that the 2/2 of the crystals were never truly separated.
Sean,
So,
I was looking at the picture and at the broken wand. It's a pretty clean break right across the middle, and it does look like amethyst.
Then that's that should be relatively easy to patch. Amethyst, depending on whether it's an actual crystal or a piece of from massive. If it's massive, it's just a case of fitting all the little microcrystals back into the same spot and applying adhesive.
Well, this is my poor innocent broken bit.
Okay, that looks so that looks like it was cut out of a piece of massive amethyst, which means it had all sorts of internal flaws to begin with.
Yeah, I can
which
feel
is not necessarily which is not necessarily a bad thing. So I would make sure you can fit it together carefully, and then use, in that case, I'd probably use a bit of super glue, because you have to be careful with certain adhesives. For example, epoxies. If you use epoxy, you need to use one that has at least an hour setting time, if not longer. And the reason is because when epoxy sets, it heats up. And if you heat up amethyst, it will discolor. Indeed, one of the common ways of creating cheap citrine is to heat up amethyst.
Mhm.
Really?
Or
Yeah.
you have ametrine.
Yeah, well, if you, those are the ones on the outside of the campfire. I'm not kidding. That's how
No, I
down
understand.
in Brazil, where they mine most of this stuff, they have been known to just literally put amethyst in a circle around a good hot campfire, and the ones that completely turn yellow are now citrine, and the ones that are partial are ametrine.
Okay.
And there's
You
no
know,
way to tell them apart, is there?
There's a lot.
You
Not
can't really
without-
tell the geologic process, can you?
Probably you could probably tell through electron microscopy, but that's going to be about it.
Mm.
Okay.
There's a lot of incentive to do this. I understand.
Because there
citrine's getting pretty
is,
rare.
you know, the difference between amethyst and citrine is a minor chemical difference.
Mm.
Amethyst contains more iron, and when you're
Okay.
heating it, you're driving the iron out.
Oh,
All right. So it's in a series, and it's the more iron-rich part of the series.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. So
Most
now I'm going to go back to the question of now that you've explained more about amethyst. If they have different magical responses, then how does that change? Now, why would heating it up change it from something that is supposed to help you stay chill, and be sober, think well, to something that's going to attract money?
Well,
Which
it's real
is what
simple.
I use
It's the
citrine for.
it's the intent of the magician that's doing the transformation. Those guys down in Brazil, because their intent is to make money, because
There you go.
citrine is far rarer and way more valuable than amethyst.
It has become harder to find. Yeah.
Yes. So the answer is quite simple. It's in their actual intent on transforming this into amethyst is probably sufficient when you add in the energy of the heat necessary to perform this, is changing the, they don't realize it, but that's what they're doing.
So, okay, that because I don't know. It seems to me that there ought to be a way of using the periodic table of the elements to find out how things to track what the magical properties, as well as the malleability, color,
Yeah.
etc.
Well,
are.
once again, I'm not that kind of a rock person. I can't rattle off the chemical formulas. I
Right.
do have a book. It's called Love is in the Earth by Melody.
Yeah, I was going to put that in.
Oh yeah.
She lists
I'll put that in the chat for everybody.
She
I love
lists the
that book.
chemical. Yes, so do I. And all of the extra books and appendices and expansions that come with it. You can
I love
fill
the picture book.
yes. What I'm rather fond is the pocket edition, which actually has color pictures of the stones.
Oh, nice.
They're thumbnail
Ooh.
size, but it has the advantage it can ride in my bag so that, okay, this is what you're looking for. Okay, one of the things Chipicon mentioned is the concept of coloring stones. I found basically, except with the occasions where people are like cooking amethyst to make citrine, the results are spotty. When you are, for example, all the dyed agate that you see, the rich purples and the blues and the things that do not turn up in nature that you see usually in the big bin of tumbled stones that 50 cents fill a bag.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty. I mean, they would probably work very well for chakra layouts, but they don't really have magical properties per se. So, I mean, I have some beautiful blue quartz that was obviously white quartz that somebody soaked in blue dye.
Mm.
I've also seen some pretty crappy editions where the dye didn't quite take before they polished it.
Oh,
You know, they're a vague. I think they were trying to make tumbled aqua aura. Now that is one case where changing the stone actually does work. All the different ones where they take clear quartz and they literally plate them with gold or titanium or silver or fill in the blanks metals.
Of it.
Yeah, because the metal is actually being worked into the crystalline structure.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's not just plated like, you know, a cheap Zippo lighter case. It has literally become bonded to the outer layer of the crystal.
Okay, that's good to know.
So,
I
yeah,
stayed away from these because of the unnatural color.
yeah, well, you don't have to worry. They are as close to natural as you're going to get, short of running a crystal farm. And well, you can, but I don't have. I think I'd probably blow our electric bill through the roof. Seeing, you know, you basically artificial quartz crystals are grown out of a bath of basically silicon dioxide that's been heated to molten, and you put a seed crystal in and it grows from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they make lab quartz.
I want to jump in there. When you said lab quartz, you reminded me. I got a wonderful wand once, which I actually laid out $50 for, and this was back in the 80s, because it worked so well. It was made of optical quartz rod. The optical that's for use. I think they use them for communication stuff or something.
But really, really high-end lenses.
Yeah, really cool. And then they had used the silicone glue that you said and put the crystal point on the end of it. They put a copper collar on, but
yeah, that reinforces it.
Did that pass energy like you wouldn't believe? It was amazing.
Among other things, the thing was flawless, because if they're flawed, they shatter as they're cooling.
So only things get through.
Yeah, basically. If you look at one of those, there's not an inclusion, there's not a stress line, there's nothing, because it's
designed to pass energy through without
exactly.
grabbing.
It was designed to pass light, but you know, it's just another end of the electromagnetic spectrum.
So to move from that, you're saying that it is not necessarily bad to use man-made.
No, man-made rubies and sapphires function just as well as natural ones.
I've seen videos at home.
Oh yeah, the one where you take your arc welder and the graphite crucible and you fill it full of what is it? It's a powder they use in sandblasting.
I forget. The guy's name is Nighthawk in Light, and
there's a couple of people who do them.
Yeah,
you can make your own sapphires if you have a powerful enough arc welder.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really liked about Melody's books was she was always very good to specify if the manufactured form of a given crystal had metaphysical powers. And she was good at specifying which ones did and which one didn't.
The one I've always disagreed with her on is Zinkite, because Zinkite is a material that comes from two places. It's an orange crystal. You can either find it down in Jersey, where it is in some sort of white matrix. I do not remember the material, but it's also available periodically from Poland.
Really?
You see, well, that's where you get the big, like bright orange, almost to red crystals of Zinkite. What that actually comes out of In Poland, they produce a material that's used by artists called zinc white.
Okay.
That is actually vapor condensed out of the cooling, it's in the cooling towers. And when they tear a cooling tower down to repair it and clean it, they have these beautiful orange crystals. Now, she considers that, quote, glass slag. Now, chemically, it is identical to the zinkites that they dig out of New Jersey. And like I said, it comes on periodically. Mostly you get it through Heaven and Earth, which is up in Vermont, and Robert Simmons, the guy who owns it, is now living in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, we get their catalogs, and we did a big order, a couple of
yeah. Used to see their catalog sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, period. And they used to be at the East Coast Gem and Mineral, but they stopped coming. Well, hello, and who is this?
This is Toaster.
Oh, it's Toaster. She just got
Hello,
fed, and my door's closed, so Jen doesn't have to listen to the echo. So she went to Mom.
Okay.
She always likes to go someplace after dinner.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, perfectly wonderful. Yep, there you go.
Yes.
Get the scritching.
She's our
Yes,
old
get the
girl.
scratching. So that is the one place I disagree with Melody on.
Okay.
I would have to agree with you, Sean, because, all right, fine, it wasn't formed in a hydrothermal vent, but
Well, it was
it's
kind of.
Yeah.
sort of. Well, anyway, it came close enough that what you end up with is physically and chemically indistinguishable from zinkite that formed, wherever it forms.
Exactly. I think it was more a case of she and Robert Simmons do not necessarily get along.
Yeah, okay.
Because I noticed none of the various forms of high energy quartz that he calls as azurite ever turn up in her books. I've got a few interesting bits and pieces here. I should perhaps have put on more light, but let's start with, these are something I picked up at the last Gem and Mineral show I went to. Let's see if this will work. These are interesting little quartz crystals from Russia. You might notice they do not have a long body in them.
It's like an 8-sided die.
Actually, they're six-sided, but yes, it's very close to an 8-sided. Yes, they're six-sided because they are quartz, and quartz naturally forms 6 sides. These are, wow, this one is buzzing. I took it out of the plastic bag, and it's like, wow.
But that's quite a crystalline form.
Well, these are called beta quartz. They come from Russia, and one of the things I've discovered is if you have 2 crystals, one from Russia and one from, say, Arkansas, the Russian crystals are often more energetic. I don't know why, but I picked up a piece of, I always mix these up. It's either diopside or dioptase. I always mix those 2 up. And it was like, bam. And I normally don't feel stones. Normally, I can pick up high energy stones and I can't touch this. But it was the sort of thing, excuse me, just checking the clock. Okay, 8:22. Just that, what did I do with my, there it is. And it was like, wow. That may have been that individual crystal. Other things I've got a kind of tektite. This is a raw one. This one is
a meteorite, right?
Well, tektites come in the same class as meteorites because they are, how to explain it, they're extraterrestrial in origin.
Okay.
But the common theory about tektites is they are pieces blown off the moon from asteroid impacts that make it to Earth and get refused. As in REFUSED, not refused as in rejected, through the passage through the atmosphere. This is a type known as Acne Mannite. It comes from Java. And I've got some more here too. We went to a rock store Saturday and I found these for like $2 each, and I dropped $20 and grabbed as many as I could. Yes.
Holy cow.
Handful
Yeah.
of Tektite.
Yeah, I love tektites.
What's
Indeed.
it good for? What do you do with it?
Acne Mannite is one of these enlightenment stones. It works with the heart chakra. It works with the root chakra. It works with the crown chakra. So you can put it anywhere those spots. It also works on the, what is it, the second chakra as well. It comes in a couple of different forms. This one is kind of a rough one. You can find them polished, once again, through Heaven and Earth Gods. I feel like I'm running a commercial.
Hey, one
There
of the
are-
things we want to know is where do we get this?
Well,
One
yeah.
way to
We
tell
don't
an
want to buy
Acne,
it from Amazon.
one way to tell a polished Acne Mannite from a regular tektite is it's translucent brown. Most tektites are solid brown or black, but you can almost see, because I'm looking at this one in the light of the screen, and I'm seeing spots where even this rough one is vaguely translucent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I'm not sure if you can see it, because I should have brought my flashlight for that part.
Mm.
This is another form of, likewise, that I got a couple of years back at it's a big health and healing fair up in Marlborough, Mass every year. These are also Acne Mannites. I managed to really luck out on those because they were very hard to get at the time. But you can get polished ones from there. Trying to think. This was from Diamonds and Dinosaurs.
Oh, I love diamonds and dinosaurs.
Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, I cleaned them out of small, 2 for $1, 6 for 10 ones.
My feeling is that, especially for instance, if you're going to be using putting it in a mojo bag or something like that, a hex bag, something of that sort, a piece is a part of the whole, and therefore it brings in the whole. So you can use these tiny little chips.
Oh yeah, my favorites are the match head sized Herkimer diamonds. That there's a fellow who used to come to the Gem and Mineral Show, Jerry, I don't remember his last name, but he always had, because he would go to Herkimer, he lives not far from there, and he would come with piles of Herkimer diamonds that he had mined himself.
That's a lot of work.
Well, that's what he did. And I would go through his pile and I would be taking out the little ones. Especially I'd look for the ones with the black carbon inclusions, because those are very good for opening up chakras, especially the third eye chakra. I use them when I make my homemade aura goggles.
Aura goggles.
That,
okay. We'll have to ask more about that later.
Yeah, basically, it's basically a pair of cheap polarized dollar store sunglasses with the right crystals glued in the crown chakra region.
Well, I have a question about moldavite, which is the one tektite I have any familiarity with. Jen and I both own one, and we have always regarded it as like, well, we call it the chaos stone. I call it the Loki stone. And if your life is stuck and you need to get things moving again, and it's a stone not to be worn all the time, or your life will be way too interesting.
I don't know. I wear one pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, but that's you.
And my life has been interesting since way before I found moldavite. Yes, I'm thinking when we finally do a face-to-face, I'm going to have to redo the meteorites and tektites class so that people can actually handle some of these things.
Yes.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes.
I do have pass-around pieces. Moldavite is, well, calling it the Loki Stone or the Chaos Stone is interesting because it is a stone of transformation.
Yeah.
Some people consider it the Stone of the Holy Grail, the Lapis Excelsius, if you're into the Grail myths. Well, if you're into the more Germanic Parsifal style of the Grail myths, as opposed to, say, Mallory or whoever wrote Le Morte d'Arthur. Yes, I'm a member of the SCA, and I can't remember who wrote Le Morte d'Arthur.
That's okay.
No.
No.
There was supposed to be a green stone set in the Holy Grail. Now, I know bloody well that the actual Holy Grail, the actual Grail, was either made out of bronze with a little bit of gold plating inside to keep it from leaching, or made out of ceramic, because that was the sort of stuff you used when you were holding a Seder in first century Palestine or Judea. It would not be this big fancy cup set with gold and diamonds, among other things because they couldn't facet diamonds back then. Even the Indians could only manage to make diamond cabochons. But it's supposedly the stone that is set in the Holy Grail. And yes, it is definitely a stone of transformation. It's one of the few stones I can actually feel. And yeah, I am, for somebody who is as psychic as I am, I'm also I have the psychic sensitivity of a cinder block when it comes to picking up quartz crystals. I mean, I'm holding right here a nice twin quartz that is one of the ones that I bought. You know, it came out of a bag. Ooh, it's got a nice little phantom in there if you hold it right. That's interesting. I know it's where the two crystals are growing next to each other.
Yeah.
If you hold it just right, you get a black rectangle in the middle.
Oh, nice.
That is interesting.
Bill and I were traveling between Syracuse and New Hampshire once on the New York State Thruway. And during this time period, the gift shops had a rack of bins of minerals, and there was always a bin of quartz points keychains. And
oh yeah,
I found green phantoms in large number at every stop.
You got lucky. Those things are hard to find. And by the way, those quartz point keychains, take the keychain part off, keep the setting, and you can make a wonderful pendulum out of that. Yeah. Inexpensive pendulums. My pendulum is actually made out of an amethyst point that had went through the same treatment. That's my normal go-to pendulum.
Okay, can you get for the people who were maybe watching this later on YouTube, talk a little bit more about what are the uses of a double crystal? What's a phantom?
Okay, a phantom is when you get an inclusion in the quartz that you can only see from certain angles, or it is, a lot of times a phantom is when a crystal is formed, the flow of minerals gets shut off, so it stops growing. And then at some time later, the flow is reestablished and another crystal grows around it. So basically the crystal is vaguely visible inside the larger crystal. And that's a phantom. Green phantoms contain, I believe, some form of chlorate.
Yes.
Or chloride, which colors the inner crystal. And I'd have to look it up, but they are, among other things, useful for revealing inner gifts, inner traits.
Okay.
This double one here it's not quite big enough to be a soulmate crystal, because those things have to be twinned crystals for twin crystals of the same size, and this one is obviously, one is somewhat larger than the other.
Yes.
This one, by the way, has been cleaned. It hasn't been polished, but what they did was they sent it through an acid bath, which removed the outer layer of oxides that prevent you from seeing the inner, as it were, the inner beauty.
And I actually have a question about polished crystals.
Yes.
Why are we seeing more of those now? I'm having a hard time finding the natural faces on crystals. I don't go to the places like Heaven and Earth or the gem shows yet, but we're seeing an awful lot more polished crystals in the places I have been able to get crystals from.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with people liking the pretty shiny. You can charge more
Yeah.
for a polished.
That's
Yeah. You can charge more for a polished crystal than you can for a crystal that's still got that white stuff on the outside.
Yeah, okay.
Like I said, so this one
I
is
seeing
not
the different faces and the patterns on the crystals myself.
Yeah, well, among other things, because if they polish them and it happens to be a type of quartz called a record keeper,
Yeah.
you lose
Yeah.
all of those little triangles.
And there are so many different patterns that do different things that
Yes, I know. There's actually a
really
book called
wish I could find them.
there's a book out, well, I don't know if it's still in publication, called Crystal Personalities, which deals with all the different shapes and types of quartz and has wonderful line drawing illustrations. So it shows you, what does a record keeper look like? What's a scanner crystal? What does a tabby look like? I mean, some of them are pretty obvious. A tabular is one that is basically thicker in one set of axes than the other. And it basically looks kind of flat.
Right.
I don't have enough light here to do much more than do this crystal. Once again, you
I
can't
understand.
see it from here, but you can see when you turn it just right, the light polarizes and the spot where the two crystals grew together turns black.
Mm,
And then it turns rainbow.
nice. Nice.
Oh.
Yes.
I have a large quartz crystal where the pattern on a couple of the sides, when you look through the crystal from the other side, one of them reflects and you see what appears to be a kachina.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call that my kachina quartz.
Perfect. You know,
It's
excellent.
about 6 inches long or so.
Once again, nice.
Yeah.
That one I'm not sure about. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah.
It may be kind of a unique piece
Yeah,
because of the shape.
We need
I
to
think
find where our crystals are packed away.
yeah.
Well, I know where some of them are, and I've got a lot of them in my closet, and I keep saying I'm going to drag out the boxes and toolboxes and everything and look through them.
Maybe
But
so I can look after this.
yeah, well,
Let's
that means
see
I got to move all the
Okay.
boxes out from in front of the closet, but we can worry about that.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, he says
Starwolf,
digging. Yes. Yes.
Before you dig, I'm just going to say that I just checked Amazon, which I know is evil, but they have crystal personalities available on Kindle for $4.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So I just get
I actually have a hard copy edition. Indeed, one of the people who taught me about quartz crystals, that was her go-to book.
Well, it sounds like it's got more in it than that front part of Melodies, where and another book we've got where it does show all of the different shapes and so forth, and even what
Yes,
they
it
may
does.
mean. But if you want,
And
Jen, if you
also-
want to get that book,
all right, going ahead.
And
I was going to say
also
you get the paperback for $32 to $82.
Yeah, that's because it's out of print.
We have the book.
That's because the beast is out of print.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I got lucky. I found it up in Brattleboro at a New Age store that was going out of business.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And I grabbed
boy.
myself.
sad thing,
grabbed-
but yeah.
Yeah. That's also where we got our
Work
gantas
on-
and
yeah.
a couple of other things. But what I was about to show off is another form of quartz. This is a form of microcrystalline quartz, and this one has been polished. Usually you don't find them like that. This is called a Shiva lingam.
Oh,
Ah,
oh,
Yes,
quartz.
yes.
Hmm.
This is once again a very high end. I'm actually somebody enjoyed being shown off because I'm getting a whoosh from it. Well,
Hi.
I have a box of these downstairs that aren't polished that I bought once again at Northeast Gem and Mineral for like,
Mhm.
they were 100 about this size Shiva lingams for 75 cents a piece.
Wow, okay.
Yes. And basically I use them for when I'm building a ray gun that forms it. It's part of the power core.
Okay. Maybe another episode is about Starwolf and his ray guns.
That's once again more of a hands-on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
We will
But
be live again someday.
But that's the kyber crystal in your lightsaber. So.
Well, it's kind of basically what it is the butt where the firing mechanism is a piezoelectric snapper that for a barbecue grill.
Nice.
Which is in itself run by a quartz crystal, if you think about it. And then the Shiva Lingam sockets into the output, and then several other crystals are in it. This is all encased in a copper tube, which is in itself wrapped in an orgone generator.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes, it's the best way to describe it. It is a negative orgone beam.
Oh,
Okay.
And I know from practice it will kill cockroaches. Doesn't just kill them, it mummifies them.
oh,
Okay.
That may be the most powerful device on Earth.
yeah. Well, on the
If
other
it
hand,
kills
we don't
cockroaches.
know that they aren't coming back later. Yeah.
Undead
Well, yes,
cockroaches?
Yes, because the contents of they never got out of the box.
Uh-huh.
But I got given this one once again up at the one in the big New Age show in Marlborough at a crystal lecture, and she gave out little bag. It's reach in and pull out a bag of crystals, and this one had the polished Shiva Lingam in it,
Mm.
which is these are all in my hoodie pocket, and I actually sleep with them. If it says something about that, I don't have really good light here. I didn't turn all the lights on before I got up. This one is just what happens when a quartz crystal gets sheared off. It's a nice little crystal. This one hasn't been polished, but it got snapped off of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's useful. I mean, it's very good if you're doing an energy layout. It makes a very nice little, I got to keep my hand up where it can be seen. It's very good for like drawing lines on people's energy.
To your left.
Yes, the
There
other.
we are, back in view.
Yes.
It's dead center now.
Yeah, so you see, you can use it as as it were, as a stylus.
Right.
Another interesting idea, if you are doing energy work on people, meet a scrubby.
Oh,
Literally.
Okay.
You can, whether it's amethyst or clear quartz, or if you can find a rose quartz one, that would be perfect. But little bitty rose quartz clusters like this are practically unobtainable.
Yeah.
But you hold it, and as you're doing your Reiki treatment or your other energy treatment, you just kind of scrub the dark spots out of their auras.
Nice.
Just like I was doing on the frying pan before I logged on. But yeah, it's
Stain
this is part
remover
of for
kind of a
auras.
stain remover for auras, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Cool.
this is part of my healing kit that I'm putting together.
Okay.
It's been a work in progress for a few years, and these tend to run, $5-10 at a rock shop.
Yeah.
Maybe less if you find a good one. But that is.
I was just
What?
wondering if you could use a piece of if they had a somewhat larger geode and it broken into hunks, would that be where those would come from, or what?
That's all this is. This is probably out of what they call a pipe, which is just a very, very large geode.
Okay.
You sometimes see them. They especially they got really big ones. They'll often cut them in
Yeah.
half and mount them.
Yeah.
That is, most quartz comes out of what amounts to massive geodes. Sometimes these geodes are
Right.
miles long and miles wide. These things don't just grow up out of the ground. I mean,
Thought
well, they
did.
do, but yes, but they don't, for the most part. If you find quartz crystals, say in a stream bed or something, it means they've been washed out of a deposit which started out life with a layer of microcrystals and then more crystals grown out of the side, and
Right.
that's what that is.
Okay.
That is basically a piece of a geode.
Okay, you got to tell me. How, I see Herkimer diamonds seem to be impossible to me because they're pointed on both sides. How do they do that?
Well, they actually grow individually in little pockets in whatever the rock that underlies Herkimer, New York is.
Yeah. You have one of ours, Bill?
What?
Hang on a
I
second.
think you might be able to find ours. We have a really nice one.
Yeah, but they're actually not completely pointed. If you look very, very carefully with a magnifier, you will find one point has a little rough end, or one facet might have a tiny rough spot. That's where it broke off the original matrix.
I couldn't find it. It's not on the shelf I thought it was. Of course, it's also very heavy. But
Maybe
we have a large.
Maybe a show and
So-
tell where we can all bring our nice crystals.
Yeah.
Show our geode that we got at that yard sale that day.
I keep putting my stylus down and losing. Oh, there it is again. I keep putting my stuff. Okay, 8:45. We still have a few minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, let's see. There were some other questions that Chipicon had.
I was hoping we could talk a little bit about lodestones. And
okay, interesting, because those are, depending on how you use it, those can be attractive or repulsive, depending on what you use them for. I mean, one of the most obvious ones, which comes from New Orleans voodoo or hoodoo, is the gold-plated lodestones or silver-plated lodestones that people use to attract money, and you feed them with iron filings periodically. Aside from their navigational use, because I have one along with a ulexite in what I refer to as my Iron Age Navigator's Kit. Ulexite's one of those crystals that's natural. It's a form of calcite. It's naturally polarized. And if you hold it up on a cloudy day, it will change color when you've reached where the sun is, which gives you, the position and angle of the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, a sunstone.
Yeah,
and with a piece of lodestone from a cord, you've got a primitive compass, and you now know where north is. And knowing the answer to today, anybody read ElfQuest? I stopped a long time ago, but most of mine were autographed by Wendy Peeney. But also a picture of her is Red Sonja. It was before Kathy and I got married, so
I've never known them, but I have a lot of friends who have.
She was a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
But to get back to a lodestone, yeah. So, but you can also set them up. Use them basically once again in warding. If you can get little slivers of lodestone, and I know most rock shops have those. Once again, if you put them at the cardinal points of your property or your house, don't put them near electronic equipment. Obviously, they're magnetic, and not near. Don't carry them in your pocket with your wallet, because you'll demagnetize and really screw with your credit cards.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll screw with the RFID chip, but I don't want to take a chance. You will degauss the magnetic strip, which, by the way, your cell phone will do that too. I found that out the hard way at Aresia one year when I had my cell phone on because I was waiting for Chipicon to call and let me know that she'd arrived. And I had my key card in the ticket pocket of my jeans, which was right next to my cell phone case. My cell phone went off, and suddenly I couldn't get into the room.
Oh, geez.
I degaused it. That's a learn the hard way.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the cell phone was literally sitting on top of that pocket. So, bip.
And it happened when it rang, right? So
Right.
that was a burst of energy there.
Yep. Same reason they don't want you talking on a cell phone when you're pumping gas. You can theoretically set off the gas fumes.
Yeah.
But, oh, there was something I was going to talk about. Oh, yes. Once again, coloring stones. I must admit, back when I was a little kid, I used to color quartz crystals with like magic markers and all. You got to put about 3 or 4 quartz coats on them to actually make it work. And it does rub off. But there is one thing I found. I have a set of what amount to white quartz crystals that are here from Connecticut. Now, these are not the clear quartz like I've been showing. These are what they call milk quartz, which usually you find in massive forms. You see it all through basically wherever they have blasted a trench to put a highway through. If you look up in the rock, you'll see the white veins. That's quartz. That is specifically cryptocrystalline or microcrystalline quartz. It's the massive form of white quartz. Well, there is a mine here in Connecticut where you can get that in crystalline form, in crystals. And what I did was I created a chakra set, basically by wrapping the each crystal in an appropriate colored embroidery floss. Basically, I fine-tuned them.
Nice.
Yes. And those are still
That's
part
interesting.
of they're still part of my healer's kit, which is quite useful.
Do you have selenite in your healer's kit?
Yes. Basically, I have bad luck because selenite tends to delaminate around me.
Oh. Well, I got one back in our original New Age days at Heartsong, and it's Fishtail Selenite, which is quite interesting. And it was described to me by Linda Goodman as a healing stone for healers.
Okay, that makes sense. It's very good for channeling energy, specifically extra dimensional energy. And it was, basically my problem is unless it's been polished, I got a bunch of tumble polished selenite lumps about the same size as this piece of snowflake obsidian that that I can use. But a selenite wand or a selenite bar, unless it's been polished.
Well, I'm going to show you both sides of this. That's one side.
Ooh.
And then,
ooh, that is a nice piece.
Yeah.
And if I hold up this, you can see that there is almost like a little mesa here, but it's very, very clear. And probably weighs like 9 or 10 ounces just to put it in my hand. But this has been one of the never gets out of my sight stones for a long time. And Heartsong days were 1995 plus or minus a bit. So I've had this a long time.
Yeah. Some of my rocks I originally bought as a child back in the day. Part of where my paycheck from Herman used to go. Crystals, books. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that one.
Yeah, we won't get back into that. I really miss the child.
Yeah.
But that is, let's see. Like I said, this is just the stuff that's in my pockets for right about now. A couple of pieces of rose quartz, but trying to
But
think.
it's very easy to get very excited. I was hoping you
Oh,
would
yeah.
you would just give us a basic. I know you have an entire workshop on what you carry,
Yeah.
but if somebody was just getting into crystals, and what would you suggest? These are the first, dozen or so, that you want to get to start practicing using them.
So close your door.
Once again, depends
It
on
is
what
closed.
Okay.
what you want to do with it. If, for example, you want to do healing, I would immediately start with a chakra set. A set of appropriately colored. You could use calcite. You could use, for the most, a lot of different quartz crystals, quartz of various types, like rose quartz, and you could use those. And you can buy small sets of tumble polish. Once again, these do not have to be huge, especially if you're going to be putting them on a human body. Small is good. I mean, they should be big enough that you're not going to lose it if somebody, sits up fast.
Yeah.
But, that's sufficient that could fit in a small, this sized pouch to begin with. I'd find a nice quartz crystal that you could use, as it were, as a projective tool. And once again, I'm working on the healing aspect of things. I'd get one of these. I'd get myself a scrubby.
Mm-hmm.
And what I might also get is, you'd have to go into crystal personalities to find the shape. I would get what is called a scanner quartz, which is a variation of a tabby, which is, I've discovered that's one way I can sense the energy in people's auras, is by holding my scanner, which is out in the car where my kit is, most of my kit. Not yet. I'll prompt Sean to.
Filling your bug out bag with rocks seems really odd, but
well, this is not a bug out bag. This is your everyday carry, which is why you want to go small, because if it's too heavy, you're not going to carry it.
Yep.
Also understand, if you're like me and you want bits of everything, you're going to end up wearing a trucker's wallet, because the front pockets of my jeans are full of pouches and packages and containers. There is a cheap rigid eyeglass case that holds some of the longer items that would be in danger of being cracked, such as the purba carved out of a quartz crystal, because I don't want that broken. There's a few other things. There's also a large double aqua aura, a piece of fulgurite, which is basically sand that has been melted by a lightning bolt, which creates a hollow tube, which is very good for blowing into somebody, basically blowing prayers into the atmosphere. There's also a large double terminated smoky that I use as my sucking crystal for sucking things out of people's auras when I'm doing healing work, because the smoky quartz acts, it's like a filter straw. That's the best way to describe it. It's like a filter straw, in that it doesn't let the yuck get into you when you're removing it, because this is a shamanic healing technique where you suck the nasty out and spit it, suck and spit, suck and spit. Well, this makes sure you don't get any of it either. And as smoky quartz crystals are naturally self-cleansing, it's perfect. Something else I bought once again at Northeast Gem and Mineral, which happens in a couple of weeks, though I think I may be busy that weekend. Well, part of it is I never thought I'd say this, with the exception of a few specialized rocks that I have to order. I've got more quartz crystals than I know what to do with. I have 3 bags full that I've barely begun sorting through one of them.
Oh my.
Well, part of it is I need very strong light to do it properly to see them.
Mhm.
And most of the light, I have that, and I need a large flat surface. And those are two things that in this house are at premium. Flat
If they
surfaces-
exist at all.
It's probably
Flat
also
surfaces that
the
don't have
energy.
piles of Kathy's books on them.
They have to
And-
be temporary. That's what TV tables are for. So you could fold them up and it'll be there next time you need a flat surface.
If I could get to the TV tables, but there's a huge pile of cardboard boxes that books are supposed to be sorted into someday.
You haven't met, you said, you said healing, but you didn't mention one of my favorites, the kyanite.
Ooh, yes. That's another one. First and foremost, that's blue kyanite. That's very good.
Yeah, I was
Once
gonna
again,
say.
Mhm.
that is a wonderful, it's one of the self-cleansing crystals. So you do not have to cleanse kyanite. You can use it for protecting energy. You can use it for removing energy. You can place it on an affected area and it'll just kind of suck the bad out and put
Oh
the good
God,
in.
it's so good for backaches. But
Yes. And it now comes in colors other than blue.
I didn't know that.
There is black, there is orange, there is green that I've seen, and these are all naturals.
We have a piece of what was called gray kyanite, pigeon wing, actually.
It's probably a very light colored form of blue, because the blue kyanites go from blue gray through blue gray to really dark blue.
Okay, that may be it then, but it's in a pigeon wing formation. And that, remember that guy
Yeah.
in Massachusetts, Bill? We went down.
A lot of kyanites are in sort of wing formations.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Others are,
I don't
others
think
are
I've
in
seen it in a
arrowheads.
Yeah, because I don't have anything that big typicon, but I love kyanite. And
Yep.
yeah, we did Treasure Mountain Mining is the name of the place, the one down in
Well,
Massachusetts.
Found
If
him on
you're in
eBay, and we were allowed to come down and go through his stores.
Well, if you're
Yeah, we got to see the real stash, which was moderately amazing.
Okay, we got a question about labradorite.
okay, what is this? What specifically?
Uh,
I was just
Shay
wondering if
wants
you've
to know.
spoken on it. Yeah, like what it's I'm like obsessed lately with it, like the past
Oh, God.
past couple years. So like
The problem being, I have a lot of knowledge, but I haven't been able to memorize "Love Is in the Earth" or
Yeah, good luck with that.
or Robert Simmons' Book of Stones. So I'm not sure. It would be simple. The simplest way to do that would be to go to the Heaven and Earth website and go to the section that is the Stones A to Z,
Mhm.
and look it up under labradorite.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep, I know it is formed by the same process
Yeah,
that
I know.
produces. Yeah, I have that pretty much permanently open on my computer.
Yeah.
Well,
a
among other
third
things, because that
thinner book.
Just suddenly remembered we had it in the other end of the room here.
I thought so. Just down on that bookcase.
What was the
But,
name of
yeah.
the site once more? Apologies.
Heaven and Earth Jewelry.com.
Thank you.
And
I would like to not, finish up any workshop on crystals without
Well,
mentioning how it's harvested these days, which is really not very earth friendly.
Right.
no,
No.
no, it
How
is
do you
no
pick-
more.
How do you pick where you get them?
Well, I try to know my dealers, among other things. The main problem is they are probably buying from wholesalers who buy from mines, especially when it comes to quartz crystals, either in Arkansas or in South America, where it's an industry. this was probably taken out of the earth with literally with a steam shovel and blasting powder. That's one of the reasons why I don't buy as many as I used to.
Mhm.
It's hard to find places that ethically source crystals because you can only follow the paper trail so far. I do know that there's a place called Mount Ida Gems, which is named after Mount Ida, Arkansas. They're pretty good with it. But once again, you're probably in the end going to be dealing with some campesino in the Brazilian jungle with a pickaxe and a pan and a sledgehammer, taking this stuff out of the earth, because for him it's dinner, it's food for the kids. So I kind of hold my nose, because I also realize these are poor people.
Yeah, and I've seen pictures of these big open mines in Brazil, and they refer to them as las formigas, the ants, because that's what it looks like.
Yes. It's, once again, we have no way to assure that, oh, that pretty piece of quartz that I've got was not taken out by somebody making 10 cents a day.
But
the choice is either not
10 cents a day.
Right. That's the other thing. If we don't buy, they're back to doing slash and burn agriculture in the rainforest, and destroying yet another mile, square mile of rainforest. We are upon the horns of a dilemma.
Yeah.
So until such time as we can develop transporter technology that will let us take the crystals out one at a time and, as painlessly as possible.
Yeah.
And
not much we can do about it.
Only get what you're going to use.
Yeah.
Never stockpile. But I was thinking a couple of related issues that arise out of this disastrous way that they harvest crystals. One, are there crystals that can actually be traumatized by this and have their properties? And can we compensate for that? And can we, you talk about making horns of a dilemma, and it's like trading carbon footprint points. You say, well, this might have been harvested by a formia, but I will use it for healing or whatever and try to compensate.
Well, I have run into some traumatized stones. And because I am a Reiki master, I usually just literally I treat it like I'm dealing with a traumatized human being. The power symbol, the emotional symbol, and I just sort of beam some Reiki into say, don't worry, just like I would be dealing with a traumatized animal that I rescued from the pound.
I would say a good analogy, because they are entities.
Right.
And it's a manifestation of some kind of life force. It's really hard for most of us to relate to.
Yep.
But there is a sense that there is energy there, since all things are connected.
Yep.
Can we do something to help? Can we compensate for any harm that was done? So that was the questions that sort of popped through my head as you were talking about that.
Whenever possible, like I said, I tried to buy from stores that especially I know the people. But once again, I've got bags of quartz crystals downstairs. They're marked from Brazil. I know how they were taken out. But it's kind of a, look, I bought you. And
you're
you are
safe
going to
now.
be used. Yeah, basically, yes, you're safe now. You're not going to get melted down to make computer chips. I will use you for healing and for making things, and you will be cherished and loved, and I will do what I can.
And I think that probably goes a long way.
Yeah.
Because it's probably the first good news they've had in 50 million years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is, removing crystals from the ground is as traumatic an experience as doing as a cesarean section with only lidocaine for an anesthetic.
I'll pass.
Yeah, so will I. But I'm just trying to think of an analogy. Because if you think about it, the pipes that the crystals grow in are analogous to a womb.
Okay, well, I've now covered, I just wanted to make sure we covered that. I
Yeah,
kind of like the discussion of traumatized stones.
Yeah.
But I noticed we have had an hour and we probably ought to
Yeah,
wrap it up.
and
Are there
I am
any
going-
other questions that
Yeah.
people were hoping to get answered before they?
I'm good.
Nothing that I can think of, yeah.
Okay. I had one going back to watching you pull it out, a rock out of your pouch. I remember a lot of people using silk or whatever to cover up their tarot cards and things. And you seem to say that the plastic encloses the energy in the stones.
Yeah.
Oh, how mundane.
Yes, how mundane. But, well, silk is an insulator, plastic is an insulator.
And it does make a heck of a, what's it called? A mana plate.
Yes, orgone plate.
Orgone plate, yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, I just didn't want to let that one go by.
Yep.
Because we can easily, I was reminded because we can easily get seduced into the sparkly side of the magical.
It's like so many things. You have to know your sources.
Yeah.
Whether you're dealing with crystals or psychotropics or for that matter, you know, cryptocurrencies, know where it's coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how often do you get to your foresight, your psychic?
Not often.
Foresight,
Not
your,
often. The site is not often. Why?
What people want to know how to get in touch with you. So
that's easy.
Just go to
through
Facebook.
Yeah,
Go to
Facebook.
Sean Kane. Okay.
I'm far more likely to answer.
Okay. Well, then
Well-
I'm going to say that we shouldn't run on too long. Remind everybody that the conference is the November 8th to 14th. If you have a topic you would like to, this is fairly typical of what a panel discussion would be like.
Yeah.
And if you want to, we're now eagerly asking people for both registration, the registration forms up, and for presentation offerings so that you can fill those out and put them in.
Okay, I know Kathy was putting some in yesterday.
She certainly did. We love Kathy's stuff. We love your stuff. I've talked Sean into doing a lot more panels. Panels are one that there's a little give and take.
Panels are what I do best, especially in online. When we're up face to face, I can do it. I'm far more, when we're up live, I'm far more, because a lot of my classes are very hands-on. And on that note, I need to go get myself something to eat.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, we have run
thank
late.
you very
So
much. And this will be up on YouTube in a few days. But thank you, everyone who asked questions.
Thank you.
Sean.
good night, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Trying to get the damn thing to work.
Thank you.
Got it
Nice
to
to have
work.
somebody to talk to.